Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin, which is trading at $116,388. And today it came very close to the $117,000 mark. Today's high is $116,828. Let me remind you that in the previous review, when Bitcoin was at $113,000, we discussed that there were two possible scenarios. The first, which was indicated by the weekly candles, was a decline to the area of $109,000 to $110,000. And the second scenario, which is suggested by the monthly candles, is a rise to the area of $117,000 to $117,500. And if Bitcoin breaks through this zone, there is a high probability that we will see a new all-time high as early as this month. Let's first look at the monthly candles, then the weekly ones, and then return to the daily chart. I'll show you my charting and we'll discuss it in more detail. Monthly candles, what do we see? The July candle is the highest monthly close in history, the highest all-time high for Bitcoin. Candles like this usually see continuation. In other words, this is a solid green candle. There's absolutely nothing here indicating a reversal. Accordingly, it suggests that in August or September, but in the near future, there is a high probability that we will see a new high around $123,500 or higher. On the other hand, if we were to switch our focus to the weekly candles, we would clearly see that this particular red candle initially made a significant new high but ultimately ended up closing considerably lower. The next candle seemed to engulf it but without making a new high. And last week's candle set a new 3-week low and closed with a solid red body, thus indicating a move either toward the middle of this large green candle or down to its base, which in fact is the $109,000 level I mentioned earlier. But let's take a look at the daily candles and turn on the chart markings. What's happening here? If you look very closely and observe what's precisely going on here, yes, we initially had a clear sideways trading range. We then experienced a significant breakdown from this established range, but subsequently we got a strong bounce, a noticeable rebound from two critically important levels. The first level is the 5-day moving average. And the second level is the high from May 22 of this year. And this suggests that it's quite possible the correction, whether some were expecting it or not, has already taken place. And now, according to the monthly scenario, Bitcoin is moving toward the $123,000 area or significantly higher. Where exactly significantly higher or significantly lower might be, we'll take a closer look at that a bit later. Now look, we were trading within a range, and our key support was at the $117,820 level. We're now approaching that level. And this will be the decisive zone where most likely the outcome will be determined, whether the bulls or the bears will win. If this level is broken on the daily candles, then most likely the move upward will continue. If, after some attempts to break through, we see at least a small reversal on the daily candles, that is, if we see some daily scale engulfing patterns here, then most likely we will move down to at least the minimum area around $110,000, $109,000, or maybe even towards this high that was set in December 2024. That's $106,000 to $133,000. So right now our task is to closely monitor the $117,420 level. How will the daily candles behave there, first and foremost? Now let's try to assess. Of course, these are, well, rather broad speculations, but still, where could Bitcoin go in the event of a major reversal? Well, maybe not a global one, but at least a deeper correction and some kind of new high. Look, in January of this year, on January 5th, as it turned out for me, we marked a kind of reversal point from which Bitcoin started to push for new highs. Well, not new highs, but at least it began to recover. Here we have the next point. And here, in April, there's another one, right? So, based on these points, we've drawn a channel, and all of Bitcoin's movement fits within the boundaries of this channel. Moreover, if we take, say, a drawing tool, look, here we were testing the central line of the channel, here we were approaching it, here as well, and here too it acted as a resistance for growth, after which we moved closer to the lower boundary. And now, let's just look at the current moment. We are exactly in the middle of the lower half of this large channel. Accordingly, we have two options. The first option, if we look at it from a global perspective, is growth somewhere up here, right? Well, the rate of growth can vary. If it's faster, that's around $130,000. If it's slower, then $135,000. If we think in even more global terms, Bitcoin could end up somewhere around $200,000. But it's too early to talk about that for now. For now, the key zone is right here, 130 to 135. But if we see that the correction continues to develop, then the target level could turn out to be the lower boundary of the channel. And that's somewhere around here or here, again, depending on whether it's a vertical drop or a drop like this. So, accordingly, the growth targets are in the area of not just updating 123,000, but something more impressive. That's in the range of $130,000 to $135,000. And the downside targets in the case of a similarly impressive decline are in the area of $95,000, $98,000, maybe $99,000. We are closely watching this key level of 117,420. Be sure to use stop orders, don't take on excessive risk, and trade cautiously. Subscribe, leave comments, and give likes or dislikes if you find this information interesting and useful. See you next time. Goodbye.